What happens to those who never got to hear the good news that Jesus Christ came to provide salvation for all humanity? What happens to those who lived before the time of Jesus? These are some questions that people have raised as objections to Christians who say Jesus is the only way to God. I will touch a bit on that here on this episode. But our main question is, are all people everywhere, across every generation, without an excuse for knowing God? Welcome to AJ Sports with Ezekarel, an apologetics podcast where you grow in the right knowledge, build solid convictions, and be equipped to effectively defend the truths of your faith as a believer. AJ Sports stands for Apologetics for Jesus podcast. We look at different topics from various perspectives, including the Bible's perspective. Remember, it's not just about gaining knowledge, but how you effectively practice the knowledge that you have gained as you go out there to share your faith with others. It's time to get equipped. A while back, I read a particular passage in the Bible. It's in Romans chapter 1, verses 18 to 21. And I'll be reading from the New King James Version. It says, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who suppress the truth in unrighteousness, because what may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse, because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were they thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened." When I read this passage in the Bible, what stuck to me is the part that says, "For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse, because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God." And I began to wonder if this passage is true. From the scriptures, we can see that God had a relationship with man from the beginning. The first humans he created, Adam and Eve. And after man fell, God still continued to communicate with them from time to time. We can see when God spoke to Cain in the Bible. We can see when God spoke to Noah, telling him to build a boat because he was about to deliver judgment on the world through flood. And then down the line, we see God speaking to Abraham, calling him out of his father's house to a land that he will show him. And down the line, God reveals himself to the people of Israel. But what about people of all other nations? Can they truly be held accountable? Are they without an excuse for knowing God? These are things I wondered about. Because if God did not reveal himself to them, how are they supposed to know God? But is it true that God only revealed himself to the people of Israel? The answer is no. And here are proofs from the Bible. Yes, God directly revealed himself to the people of Israel when he called them out of Egypt and called them to a mountain and gave them the 10 commandments. But this was not done in isolation. What do I mean? Before the Israelites were able to leave Egypt, God performed so many signs and wonders in order to free them from slavery in Egypt. And news about these signs and wonders and all that God did for the children of Israel spread around. So people definitely heard about the God of Israel. So what happened? Well, these people in other nations had the gods they were serving. However, if they are taking time to analyze or investigate the stories that they had heard and aligned it or compared it with their own gods that they serve, they would have made some decisions like some other people did. There were Egyptians that joined themselves and came out with the Israelites from Egypt. There were people like Rahab from Jericho who believed that the God of Israel was a powerful God more than the gods of her own town, Jericho, where she lived in. And she decided to join herself to the Israelites after Jericho was destroyed. Across the Bible, we see people who decide to become part of the nation of Israel or serve the God that the Israelites worship. One person I can easily remember is Naaman, who was from another country entirely, was a commander in that country, and he came to the prophet Elijah because he needed a miracle in his life. And after that miracle happened, he decided that the God he will be serving is the God of Israel. And down the line, we see that more people decide to worship the God of Israel. And that's why you can see places where Gentiles come to the temple and they want to offer sacrifice to God. But here's the thing. What about the rest? What happens to them? Why did they not know God? For some, they had the gods they were worshiping. But couldn't they tell that these gods were not real? These gods that they are molded from different materials like wood, iron, gold, silver. Couldn't they tell that these gods that they had created were not real gods? Even this question is in the Bible as well. I believe it's in the book of Isaiah. Some other people looked to celestial bodies like the sun, moons, and stars and began to worship it. But couldn't they tell that these were not gods? The scripture I read in Romans chapter 1 verses 18 to 21 talks about how nature reveals parts of the attribute of God. Like when you look into the sky and you see that the sky is so vast and endless, and you wonder, whoever created the sky must himself be vast and endless. However, here is what happened in ancient times and what is still currently happening in today's world. People are not truly seeking to know God. People are more interested in themselves and their continuous survival. How this is evident in ancient times is based on the gods that these people worshipped. Many ancient people worshipped nature, and they did this because they believed that nature had some contribution and benefits for them as humans. They worshipped the sun, stars, trees, because they believed that this nature could bring goodness and prosperity for them. Some other people worshipped gods that they believed brought them victory when they went to fight against their enemies. Some other people worshipped gods that they believed will endow them with some abilities or attractions that will make them likable so that they can have spouse or so that they can have children. So ancient people had different reasons for the gods that they worshipped or believed in because they believed that these gods had some benefits for them. And this is as a result of people being interested in themselves and what can benefit their continuous survival, not about God himself or who the true God is. That's another reason why many of them serve multiple gods, because this is the God in charge of this one. We have to serve him so that he will bless us in this area. This is the God in charge of this other one. We have to serve them so that he will bless us in this area. This is the God in charge of this. And that is what happened. People were interested in what would benefit them and their continuous survival. Now, what's happening in our world today? People no longer see the needs for gods that will bless any different aspect of their life. What they see is that they have to work, do whatever is possible to continue surviving and enjoy the life that they have. The need for God has become unnecessary because humans are advancing and they found ways to meet their needs without depending on any god or gods. As a Christian who is active in sharing my faith in God with people I come across, I've come to two conclusions. Number one, it is true that nature has a lot to reveal about God and push us in the right direction in knowing the true God. And number two, there are a lot of people not seeking to know God. When I go out to share my faith with people, you can hear things like, "Oh, I'm not interested. Come back another time. I'm very busy." Even though you can clearly see that some of them are not busy. And some will tell you that no matter what you say, they do not believe in the God that I am sharing with them. You ask them why, they cannot provide concrete reasons for why they do not believe in God. Some tell you they believe in God, but their beliefs have no effect or impact on their life. I've listened to so many debates, and you hear people say, "Oh, I don't believe God exists." Why? I don't just believe God exists. Have you searched to know whether God exists or not? Many of them just believe what they've been told, hearsay. Some of them give objections. "Oh, I will not believe in God because of this and that." But have they examined the truth on whether God truly exists or not? And which God is the true God? Many of them have not. This is my experience from going out to share my faith with others and listening to debates about the existence of God, faith, and other religions. Another thing I've realized is that there are people who say they are open to knowing God. They are searching to know God, but are not honest in their search. They refuse to consider the possibility of the existence of God. They refuse to investigate the claims made about the proof of God's existence. A while back, I created an internal debate where I was an atheist debating a Christian on how objective morality is not a proof of God's existence. One thing I discovered is that people can continue to debate and argue about God and whether He exists. But if someone does not consider the probability of God's existence, but is adamant that God does not exist, he would always have responses, evidences, rebuttals to evidences that you present to him for God's existence. And this is not an honest way to search for or know God, whether God exists or not, what God is like, or who He is. Here are some hindrances to why people don't get to know God. There are intellectual reasons, and this could be because of scientific evidences, reasonings against why God does not exist, or if God exists, certain things in the world should not be the way they are. But one thing I've observed amongst people with intellectual reasons to why they don't know God is that many of them are not honestly seeking to know God. They all have some form of biases, or they refuse to consider some of the evidences and the arguments put forth for God's existence. They are more interested in bringing forth rebuttals to whatever evidence or arguments you're presenting to them. Another hindrance to knowing God is emotional reasons. And this could be because of something they might have experienced in the past, maybe like disappointments from God, religious leaders taking advantage of people, or wrong things and evil things done in the name of religion, and many other reasons. But when it comes to emotional reasons for not knowing God, this can be worked through in a conducive and compassionate environment. There are also volitional reasons for why people don't get to know God. And this varies per individual because different people could have different reasons why they would rather have nothing to do with God, talk less of knowing Him. In this kind of situation, people first of all have to realize their need to know God and then begin to desire to know God. One last reason I'll add is religious reasons. For this, it could be a case where people already believe they know the one true God, or they believe that whoever is coming to talk to them about God is about to contaminate their religious beliefs or lead them away from serving the true God they already believe in. Now, what does it mean to know God? There's a tremendous difference between knowing God and knowing about God. Knowing about God is primarily just information, what you've heard about God. Okay, I know God is good, as some people have said. Okay, I know God is spaceless, timeless, immaterial. I know they've said God lives outside the universe. I know God is this, I know God is that. This is knowing about God. But when it comes to knowing God, it's about your first-hand personal experience with this God that you know. How does all that you know about God influence your day-to-day living? How does it impact your life? Do you have a personal relationship? Do you interact? Do you communicate? As the God that you believe in interacted or communicated with you one way or the other? This is what it means to know God. This is just like what it means to know about a famous person. Maybe you read about them on the internet. And to personally know a famous person, probably because they are your friend, you schooled with them, you work with them, or they are related to you because you're part of their family. It's different. Knowing about God and knowing God are two different things. And the goal of our ongoing origin series, Knowing God, is to help you truly know God. You get to the point where you desire a personal encounter, a personal experience with the true God that is revealed at the end of our ongoing origin series on Knowing God. Remember in a previous episode, I said we are going to be exploring three world religious views: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Right now, I'm going to be reading from the sacred texts in these different religions to see whether the God in these religions invites us to know each of them and whether we can truly know them. From the Jewish scriptures, God speaking in Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 13, He says, "And you will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart." From the Christian Bible, Jesus Christ speaks in Revelation 3:20, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and dine with him, and he with me." And in Islam, Allah speaking in Surah chapter 29 verse 69, "And those who strive for us, we will surely guide them to our ways. And indeed, Allah is with the doers of good." So we can see from this religious text I read that we are invited to know these gods based on the different religions, and they tell us that as we seek to know God, we will know God. Please remember, I'm not saying that the God in these three different religions are one and the same God. Remember, we are going to come to the conclusion on who the true God is at the end of our ongoing origin series on Knowing God. For now, we will keep exploring the God in these three different religions as we explore the attributes, nature, and character of God. Finally, as we round up, how do we know God? We start by having an open mind and a receptive heart. Having an open mind will ensure that you are able to receive and think on all that I'm going to be sharing about God. And this leads me to my next point. Be willing to investigate the truth about all that I'll be sharing. Be willing to investigate. Do not just be prepared to come up with rebuttals and arguments against all that I've shared. Also, take time to investigate whether what I have shared about God is actually true. Whether it's from the Jewish scriptures, the Christian Bible, or the Islamic Quran. And at the end of the day, we should be able to determine who the true God is. One other point is that during our ongoing origin series on Knowing God, desire to have a personal experience, a personal revelation, or a personal encounter with the true God. You can say a prayer like this: "Dear God, I really do not know who you are. I have heard or I'm learning about you, but I want to have a personal encounter with you. Reveal yourself to me." And as you make such prayers in time or instantly, God can use all that I will be sharing or all that I've shared to reveal Himself to you. We are going to be progressing gradually on our ongoing origin series of Knowing God. But if you desire to truly know God and would like me to personally share my faith with you, you can reach out to me on social media, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok. My handle is Ezekarel. It's spelled Ezekarel. Ezekarel. whether on Instagram or TikTok. You can reach out to me, you can send a message, and I will definitely respond to you and love to share my faith with you. But if you desire to know God truly by considering each of these three world religions, then you can continue progressing with me. And I hope at the end of our ongoing origin series, you would eventually get to know the true God. Not just know about the true God, but know the true God. Having a personal encounter, a personal experience, a personal relationship with this God. Because the goal of our ongoing origin series, Knowing God, is that knowing God has an impact and influence on our identity, the meaning of life as we understand it to be, the morality we live by, and what we believe would happen to us when we leave Earth. That's talking about destiny. So continue with me on our ongoing origin series here on AJ Sports with Ezekiel, and I'll see you in the next episode.